loved it a lot. I remember even at the school, at classes, I would pick a piece of paper and just draw Age of Empires pieces and villagers.
Really?
I was in love with it, yes. I'm skeptical about AOE4, unfortunately, and I really fear that it could break the community apart. I don't want that to happen, but I think there is a possibility that the game won't be accepted by everyone.
I do actually, believe it or not, have a Mushroom Mafia story.
You're listening to Board with Nelly.
We're good to go, if you're okay. Welcome to the Board with Nelly podcast. Do I say your name Nadya?
Yes.
Nadya, I said it correctly?
Yes, Nadya.
I'm happy to have you here. I was trying to get two things. One was a really high quality AoE player. Two was like a female from the AO community, because like you're a pretty good chunk of the community. So get a different perspective, I guess, of the game. So how long have you been playing Age of Empires?
Yeah, I'm glad to be here as well. Thank you for the kind words. I've been playing since 2011, if I'm not mistaken. So around 10 years and going.
And going?
Yeah.
So did you miss the days of the LAN parties and stuff, or?
Depending on what kind of parties you mean. I kind of didn't miss those. I was at ECL, I was at Nelly's Cup 1. Not the first one, but I've been to Nelly's Cup 2, Nelly's Cup 3. What else was there? I wasn't in Germany. I wasn't in Cologne. There was a big event. So I've been to quite some LAN events.
But I mean, like when you were a kid, you start playing with friends and.
Okay. Sorry. No, not really. No, I never played multiplayer as a kid. I only played single player and campaigns.
Really?
Yeah, so I only I discovered that multiplayer exists and you can play competitively when I was already in my late teens.
How did you even discover Age of Empires? How did you even discover, I guess, RTS games?
Well, I knew the game as a kid. I only played single player, but I knew it existed and I loved it a lot. I remember even at the school, at classes, I would pick a piece of paper and just draw Age of Empires pieces and villagers.
Really?
In love with it, yes. And I really, man, I'm so sad that I probably threw away those drawings. I would love to find them. There was one particular, I can even, if I close my eyes, I can see it still. I remember it so well.
Just redraw it. You can't redraw it?
No, I can't.
The
skill is gone.
The skill is gone. That's unfortunate. Did you play any other strategy games or just Age of Empires?
Well, I played a little bit of Warcraft, very, very little bit. And that would be it, probably. Heroes of Might and Magic, is it a strategy? Oh, but it's
turn-based.
It's a turn-based. Yeah. So I played a few turn-based. There was another one very much like Heroes of Might and Magic. I don't remember the name. So, yeah.
Heroes Might and Magic is probably one of my favorite all-time. Like, the third one, I think, is the one that everyone remembers, and then they kept making them, and they were just getting progressively worse. I don't know if you stuck around for those days, but...
Yeah, well, people think that the fourth one was decent, no?
Maybe, yeah. Fourth one was okay,
no,
but
wait. No, the fifth one, sorry. The
fifth one?
The third one is like classics, no? Everyone grew up playing the third one. The fourth one is really controversial.
Right. And
the fifth one was positively accepted.
Was it? As a kid, I only remember there was the weird one with the you could be like first person. You're walking through the cities and stuff. I can't remember which. I think that was like the 7th or 8th one. Do you remember that one? What were we talking about? Heroes. Oh, the role playing here. This is the role playing Heroes game, which was I thought like a disaster. It was just so crazy and ludicrous, and they had like no budget to make it.
I don't think I ever played it. I don't even know what it is about.
Probably for the better. So when you first started playing Age of Empires, like were you good right off the bat? Did you know you could be a good player?
No, not at all. When I first rediscovered it, as I said, I had no idea how people play. I went in completely having no clue, and then people started instructing me, as it usually goes. It was the Russian-speaking community I met first. So I was playing only with those for, I think, 2 years. We had our small community, our own platform to play, our own forums.
Really? So it was, what was it, Wobbly or Game Ranger, or was it something?
No, it was something completely separate. It was
Some
called
Ru-
Roots. So rusaok.ru. It still exists, and yeah,
Awesome.
it was the biggest place to play if you speak Russian.
I didn't know there was a big Russian AOE community. That's cool.
Now you know it's still big. It's even bigger than ever right now.
Really? Well, with the resurgence of Age of Empires, I mean, I think it's only going to get bigger. And so, how long did it take you to start developing the skill? How did I want to hear the journey, because you're pretty good right now. You're at almost 1,800 elo, trying to get to 2,000. I mean, most people don't get over like 1,400. We're talking about 0.1% or whatever. So, talk me through the journey.
Lots of time, effort. I can't tell if it was worth it. Maybe I fear when I get old and I will look back, I will be terrified by the amount of time I spent, because sometimes I am terrified right now. If I start analyzing, I'm like, what the hell? How many? It's hundreds of hours, right? Effort and also lots of emotions. I've been upset so many times and struggled so many times. I always took the game super seriously. And as far as like skill-wise, it was, it's really hard to tell now. It has been 10 years. It was probably not smooth. I made some breakthroughs, and then you struggle, and then you are like, if you have a feeling that you hit a wall. It's pretty much similar to everyone, right? And then you don't move for a while, and then there is another breakthrough or something like that, I suppose.
What's the first big breakthrough? Was it like breaking 1,000 elo or 1,500, or was there even an elo thing back then that you even thought about? When you lured your first Bork successfully without losing a villager,
I'm trying to remember now. I think, when I played in that Russian community, the biggest thing was LN, Land Nomad, which is probably the new players don't even know what that is. It's basically Nomad, but with no water. And back then we did not have balanced maps, so it was completely random. You could be, you could have no food or lots of food. Anyway, that was the map everyone played. So I used to download tracks, watch how people play, repeat build orders, and I tried to be good on that one. Arabia was not really a big thing. And so the biggest breakthrough was probably, I can't unfortunately recall any specific game of beating someone, but I just remember I started getting better. I started using build orders, and people were inviting me into their games, and I was so happy about it. And then there was also a bunch of players, some of them from L Clan. They were old school already back then. So back 10 years ago, we had a bunch of players who were old school, and everyone looked up on them. They were the best and the most knowledgeable, also older than the rest. And I really wanted to play with them, obviously. It was the best of the best. And I was trying so hard. And at some point, they started to recognize me and sometimes let me play when they didn't have.
They took you under their wing, and
and that felt good.
It's so nice when you get accepted. Like for me, that thing is like basketball. Like when I go play basketball, and when I was a kid, I always looked up to the bigger guys playing. And the day I could become some sort of an asset, like I could do one thing good enough that I could play with them, like I made it. This is like peak happiness. So how religiously did you take AoE at the time? Were you like studying build orders, going through other like downloaded videos? How many, I guess, hours or however you want to quantify your learning?
I don't know how to quantify anymore, because I've changed PCs. I've deleted my Rex so many times. I've reinstalled the game so many times. I have gone through so many stages. Also, I transitioned to Wobbly at some point and stopped playing with Russians, right? And I guess on Wobbly, it was another stage where you actually realize how many more people play and how much better they are. Because in the Russian community, we were sticking to ourselves, except for 2 or 3 guys who were the old school, and they knew the pros from the international scene, and they played together. Except for those, we were left to our own Yeah.
I got you. I understand.
So yeah, in Woobly, I think I started watching more Recs, and I realized there are the best of the best people, and those are the ones who produce the best gameplay, and I should be watching them. And then I started writing down strategies. So I kept a notebook. I still have a notebook now. It's a different one. But I was writing down things, and I already forgot the question you asked.
It's all good. It's all good. So when these guys come into your chat, let's say like I might have creeped maybe a few times here and there, like when Tato or like one of these guys that's like been in the scene for a long time and is like, and they're talking. Oh, it's creepy. My door closed. They're talking to you like, you know, you're kind of part of the community. Does it feel like weird? Like, hey, these are the guys I used to watch, and now I'm part of their community, I guess, or.
No, right now, no. I not anymore, because I've met all of them. I've met Tato in real life. You know, we talked. I played a ton of team games with him and with others. So not anymore, but at some point, probably yes. It was already like my peak was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and back then, yes, I guess.
What do you mean peak? What do you mean by peak? Did I open up a whole can of worms here? I'm sorry.
No, not the peak, but I think like 3 years ago, I reached my highest elo on Woobly. Right now, I don't know how it compares. It's probably the same. Maybe I'm a little bit better now, but it's hard to say because the ranking is completely different now, and there are so many more people playing and so much more competition. But 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago even, when Nabs were active, my teammates were active, we played a lot of team games, and I was allowed to play in 2K team games. Right. I really enjoyed it, and yes, that's where I felt I'm part of this. And then the LAN events kind of solidified this feeling when you...
It's different playing in an actual tournament and playing online and ladder. There is all different kinds of games, right? Maps, types of modes. I was going to ask you, you were a part of two different teams, VIK and ABS. I've always wanted to know, how does one get into an AOE team? How does that work? What is that like?
Well, the first one, it was a team in the Russian-speaking community. I was still back there, not really playing much in Woobly, and it was one of the youngest, most active teams, and all the guys there were my age, more or less, and we just played a lot together. And I remember we were all younger, and I remember they kind of created some kind of I wouldn't say a cult. There was like there was a perception that not everyone can be accepted, although they were not exceptionally good. But they had their own image. Everyone had to fit in. Really, they had their own image. But since we played a lot together, at some point, I don't remember anymore. Maybe I asked, maybe they invited, probably both. I went through the interview. I think I talked to each one of them, and then they had to do a secret vote, and then they had to vote me in. It was a little bit childish, but we were so much younger as well.
Interview? What was that like?
Yeah. Well, I don't remember. Again, just asked me different questions about I think it was something about my goals, because the clan was supposed to be a team which had lots of, they had goals to be good and to practice together. So they had to know if I, although we played so much together, they knew me, but it had to be official. You know, they wanted to make sure I really, we are on the same page.
Yeah, right? Did you guys all get matching rings or something in the mail? And then when you meet in person, you can...
Yeah, I'm sure if we lived closer, I'm sure we would have done it. There was a lot about... We also had avatars, matching avatars.
Wow. That's awesome, because back in the day of early esports, teams were completely different than what I would say traditional esports are now. Esports teams are about brand, about building your, whatever identity, about selling merch, about allowing yourself to make partnerships. But back in the old days of let's say early AOEs, it was like the clan was, you put 3 letters in front of your username, and that's it. That's the obligation. That's everyone knows, all right, Dowd is in this clan, Viper's in this clan. there isn't like a massive organization. They don't sell merch. They don't do all this other stuff. So
Yeah, well, the game has always been too small, I suppose.
yeah,
Too small for bigger names.
But that's another thing I've always wondered, like, because I know Doubt always talks about back in the day, he says, oh, the prize pool was bigger, but I could never find any crazy prize pools in AoE. Do you remember anything about that?
As far as I know, the biggest ones were, that could be during the L Clan years, and there was a sponsor, his name was Murat, that's his real name, he's Kazaki, businessman, Arbalet was his nickname, and he hosted the first tournaments, he hosted the first LAN events, and Daud was part of his team.
Really?
So Daud traveled to Kazakhstan as well, and there are pictures somewhere on the internet to be found with,
him in Kazakhstan? Wow. I'd love it.
Yeah, because Murat Arbalet was in Kazakhstan, so he flew the players in.
Yeah.
And they were playing, LAN. But I'm not sure if those tournaments had the biggest prize pool. I wouldn't be able to tell you the exact number. Probably asking Chris and Daud, the two pros from those days.
Sure.
Biggest players, they would know.
If someone is listening to this right now and has access to these photos, I beg of you, please.
I will try to find them. I remember posting them myself. Forum we had. I remember finding them somewhere and posting them. I also remember translating the interview with Arbalet into English and posting these pictures on AOE Zone. But I'm not sure the posts exist anymore. I will have to take a look.
Yeah, no worries. Did you see this as a career path, or did you see this going bigger than it? I mean, even right now, if you have a couple hundred viewers on Twitch, you can make an okay living depending on what part of the world you're in. Have you given that a lot of thought?
Back in the days, never. Because I regret it now. When everyone started streaming, I kind of had this idea that I would be a bad streamer because I'm shy, not charismatic, or something, like lack of self-esteem. And I imagined that's not for me. I've never even considered. And then when I finally started streaming this year, I think it's a little bit too late because it's harder to grow now. The competition is insane. And I don't think it will happen, but I will. I'm giving it a try as well. It's hard to tell what I don't really want to go into that direction of discussing my goals, but I mean, if that would be possible, I would actually enjoy earning a living from stream for at least a while.
Right. I think
I don't expect it to happen.
Yeah, I think you're underselling yourself a little bit because you're a quality player. I've watched a couple of your streams. They're enjoyable. This is a great time, I think. I think another way to look at this is a great time to get into AoE because AoE2 right now is hotter than it's ever been with AoE4 on the rise. Who knows where that's going to go? I mean, I would look at it optimistically.
Maybe you're right.
Fair enough. So ELO goals, are you working towards that 2K? What's the biggest hurdle? What separates these guys that are at over 2K, I guess?
Sure, I could be hitting 2K off stream, maybe any months, but on stream it's a different story. I find it extremely hard to focus on both playing and talking. And right. I keep saying it on stream. I think it is going to become a meme or a joke because that's basically what I repeat every single stream. But when I play my best, I'm still not 2K. And what separates me, I think, is when I play my best, then it is decision making. Probably some mechanical stuff. I am getting used to still some of the things or features that are available on DE and they didn't exist on Woobly. I had to relearn the game, right? In December.
Course.
So I still think there is a little bit more to. I could be more efficient with mechanics, and but other than that, it's decision making.
Have you thought about maybe getting coaching or getting one of these guys that are already like top 2.4, 2.3K to kind of mentor you in the, let's say, post-imp game? Because that's kind of like, I think that's where it really separates like the really high quality players from the rest. Their decision making in those crucial moments is almost like...
I don't actually think that the imp play is the main thing. You can be winning games in Feudal or Castle Age. There is still a lot for me to improve in Castle Age and Feudal Age, really. And imp is... To be good in imp, you just need to play deathmatch a lot, because that's where you get to
practice that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, you haven't thought about coaching, or sorry.
Well, I did have players who are in top 20, top 10, and sometimes in the past as well. So I have an idea of what coaching is, and that would definitely help, probably, but I don't think it would make a huge difference for me. There are so many things I need to fix on my own, and there are so many mistakes that I'm aware of, but it's so much harder to fix them because many things are a muscle memory, or many mistakes happen because I'm playing on autopilot, and I basically have to relearn some of the habits that I learned. And it's probably harder than just to pick up a new game, and just learn to play it right from the very beginning. Relearning is so much harder, I feel.
Of course. Even if you are very good at AoE, like transitioning your, like, let's say micro skills to another RTS game and then trying to be successful in that is like trying to say, oh, I'm good at basketball, now I can be good at soccer. Like they might be a sport, but they're two different planets apart.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe right now I'm not considering coaching. I don't discourage anyone.
Is it hard to, stream and play the game and still be like you're in school, right? And all that. How's the time management? Is that really hard for you?
Yeah, I also have a side work, so it's not easy. It's not easy at all. So I have a lot of hopes for summer, and the next month is going to be easy, and then summer and September I will have no school. I plan on using that time to see how good can I get if I play and stream most of my time. We'll see.
Do you have a certain play style that you really enjoy? Like, are you a more defense? Because to be truthfully, I haven't watched like an excessive amount of your games. I'm just wondering if you've already discovered what you're really good at and maximizing that, I guess.
Good question. I used to think that I'm a decent defensive / macro based player on Woobly. So I would rarely push. I would just have better economy and win in late Castle Age or early Imp. I feel like now it is harder to play that way because people play more aggressive. Meta changed. And also it's kind of due to how the game functions now. It's so much easier to be aggressive than be defensive. Even though I think, like, all in all, in general, the defensive player should have, if you're defending efficiently, should have an edge and should be the favorite in a match. Still, it is so much easier to make mistakes when you defend, to panic, and the player who is pushing does not have to care about what's happening in their base. They're just... So aggressive style pays off, I think, these days more. And I'm trying to pick up that. So I would say I'm more of an aggressive player these days, but still I don't have a particular style. I'm still trying things out. I still don't know the new civs as well as I should be. And I focus on learning those.
So you said you picked it up in 2011. So there was a bunch of expansions from there till DE, right? Did you play a lot in between those expansions? Because for me personally, I loved Age of Empires so much when I was younger, but then when I got older, I got really into StarCraft. So I started playing StarCraft like in high school religiously. Like at one point I was top 3,000 in North America in StarCraft.
Wow.
It became an obsession because the game was literally exactly what I didn't have in Age of Empires. The mechanics were so much tighter. It was fully 3D. It was smooth. Yeah. It was clean. There was only 3 civilizations, 3 races, whatever. And if for me, it gave me a chance. Well, obviously, there's no chance because like 98% of the players that are the best are Korean in StarCraft. So if just pure on analytics, if I was smart enough, be like, okay, well, am I Korean? No. Okay, well, I have a 2% chance of making it. I should have stopped there. But it was really hard for me to get back to the Age of Empires, even with the new expansions, even with the HD water. You couldn't select more than 30 units. It had all these like quality of life issues. So did you find it hard playing in that time frame before DE and after you picked up AOE?
Okay, could you repeat the question itself?
Yeah, no problem. Was it tough playing with like AOE's sort of outdated mechanics? Sure, they dropped a bunch of expansions, they dropped a bunch of cool stuff, HD water, but the mechanics, quality of life wise, were still like behind the competition at the time.
When on Woobly? Or
Age of Empires in general. Age of Empires mechanics were
in general.
Yeah, when StarCraft 2 came out.
Yeah. Well, I've never played StarCraft. That's the thing. I've watched it. I've never played it, so I don't have much to compare to. That's the case, I guess. I know people who played both games, like Viper. He keeps saying that Age of Empires never got to a point where it would be as smooth as StarCraft. That's what people say. I wish I could experience the difference. And I wish that the Age of Empires was smoother. Maybe it would make it easier for me to play as well. I don't know.
Well, it's not really fair for Age of Empires. Obviously, it's not fair because it's still built on an engine that's like 30 years old, while StarCraft 2 was built from scratch, and they literally made it the most modern RTS game at the time. And it was huge. At the time, StarCraft was like... I remember watching like Husky videos, and there'd be like 3 million views on a replay of a game. I'm like, what is this? This is, I think that's where AOE's potential, I think it is. What do you think the potential for Age of Empires is?
Well, I wish there is probably no person in the world who wishes it to grow bigger than me. I've talked to a couple people also from my community, and there are actually some people who don't want it to grow because they enjoy the tightness of the community. They enjoy the fact that the pros and casual players don't have this kind of distance between them, and you can go to a LAN event and meet everyone. But I think we are already beyond that point. 5 years ago, we would go to a LAN event, and basically everyone who wanted to go from the entire community could go. And we still were like 25 people, or maybe 30.
Wow.
Maybe I'm exaggerating it a little bit. Some people maybe wanted to go, but they didn't know how to. But still, it was small. The community was small. So few people streamed. Now it's more like multiple communities which intersect, and sometimes they don't intersect. So it's still beyond that. But I am the one who would really love to see this game getting extremely big. I'm skeptical about AOE4, unfortunately, and I really fear that it could break the community apart. I don't want that to happen, but I think there is a possibility that the game won't be accepted by everyone. Someone would be paid to play it, someone would enjoy it, someone won't, and we will end up with people who focus on AOE2 right now being split into two. And I'm also afraid of Microsoft slowly turning their back to AOE2 because they will have a new product.
True.
And
well, did that not happen with AOE3? Kind of, to a certain extent, or no? Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know the story exactly. It was before I started playing, I think. What year was it released?
Oh man, that is...
It was still in Zone days or Game Ranger days.
Let me see here. You caught me off guard. Let me see. Release date 2005. AOE 3.
Okay, 2005, yeah. So I don't really know much about it.
I'll have to ask Sandy.
I think that's when they abandoned the servers, right? And that's when probably people could no longer play on Game Ranger, and it was Zone where people played at that time. And then Woobly picked up everything since then. There is a reason to be salty with Microsoft because they left the game,
right? And
then they picked it up 10 years later.
When they saw the potential of it again with the,
Yeah, so I wouldn't trust them too much.
But the guy that actually, I had the guy that actually makes the game, or is the lead designer, Bert Beekman, and he started out actually as a modder. And he started modding the game and reading. I believe he said there was a guy from Taiwan who had who wrote a booklet on how to make new civilizations. And he started modding the game and adding his own civilizations. And he said the day he created his first add-on patch, whatever you want to call it, it was around Christmas, and they uploaded it to the servers, and it crashed their servers. That's how many people downloaded it.
Sick.
Yeah, it was pretty.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So he told me he's basically a massive fan of AOE, who, through his own work ethic, through his own whatever you want to call it fandom, got into the position of becoming the lead developer for Definitive Edition.
Okay, and is he involved in Age of Empires 4? This guy you're talking about.
So when I asked him this, he was very. This was a couple months ago. He didn't say a word. He couldn't. He was. I'm sure in some way he's working on it, but I don't know to what extent. So I don't know. I think his focus will. I think even it really depends on what happens with AOE4, right? Because if AOE4 is a massive success and let's say everyone loves it, I mean is that the best for everyone? Is that the best case scenario here? So then the best talent goes to work on AOE4, let's say. And you lose your Russian community potentially or whatever, but hopefully they move on and enjoy the new game, and then like that brings in new people and that helps, drive bigger prize pools, which is better for the players, more audience, which is better for the streamers, more YouTube views, which is better for that's like the ideal situation, unless I'm missing something.
But no, you see, there is another thing. Then I don't think I want to learn the new game. For example, I just came back. I'm gathering that pace. I'm
sure
improving, and what for? I will. There is going to be a new game, and I start from zero. I spend years playing this one, and I want to be good at this game.
I understand.
I really don't want to learn a new game.
Hey, maybe like everyone leaves, and then you and like 100 people are left, and you're just out of nowhere, you're top 100 in the world. That'd be pretty cool.
I don't know. I don't want it easy. I don't want it easy. I want the competition around. I want the events to keep happening.
It's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because like if you don't want it easy, then you have to pick up a new game. But if you don't want it too hard, then like it's you got to pick a side. It's like that's tough with video games, especially trying to be competitive in them. It's really tough. I mean, the StarCraft guys could probably say that. Like they became the best in the world, made probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in those years that StarCraft was booming, and then. What do you do with that? StarCraft is pretty much dead, I think. Or maybe it's not, but...
No, it's not dead. I think they can still earn some.
Yeah, but not nearly to the extent, right? Maybe.
I think the prize pools are still bigger in StarCraft.
Is
not
it really?
By far, but I think they are. At least the biggest StarCraft tournament should have a bigger prize pool, although it is still smaller than they used to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we are getting close to those... those numbers, but yeah.
So okay, fair enough. You play a lot of AOE2. What needs to still be improved in AOE2? Because this is one of the big things that the developer asked me. He didn't have anything to promote. All he wanted was people to go into the forums and give feedback as much as they could on things because I know there's still a bunch of issues with AOE2. Like the units glitch out sometimes and they like skip a little bit, right? You play this game a lot, so I would imagine you have a wide knowledge of that.
I wouldn't say anything new. Right now, it's just these small things like pathing, the smoothness, villagers going transparent. I also believe there are too many civs, but I don't think that's what they want to hear. They keep releasing the new ones, right? So
yeah,
because they're trying to please different audiences, and I think the new civs is meant to please the casual audience.
You're not a fan of the Burgundians?
No, I'm not. There is going to be another one in summer. They just announced in this preview.
Oh, I missed that.
Another expansion with at least 2, potentially 3, right? How many there are usually? Civs. So yeah, they're catching different audiences. When I talk to my friends and community, I don't know anyone who is happy about new civs. But
really?
Yeah, because why would you need more? There are so many. It's making things more complicated in terms of balance, and they don't really fulfill any. There is no purpose for this new civs.
Right.
But when I was checking some video on YouTube, and then you see people commenting, and they are actually excited about the new civs because those are people who just enjoy the game
casually.
in the evening. And yeah, exactly. And they probably, they look forward to it. So the audiences are different.
I never really, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I never really thought of it. So you would think the most, players around your level and higher are not happy about the amount of civs because just the sheer amount of learning they have to do and, balance issues.
Yeah, not just learning. There are enough civs to make this game competitive, and there is literally no point in making more. I really, if you convince me, if they convince me, there is anything that adds another. That there is anything that adds anything to competitive scene.
Right.
Sorry, bad English.
No, you're good. I understand. I understand what you mean.
So, I don't see a point.
Fair enough. The other upside of this, which maybe you didn't give a much thought to, but a lot of esports games, like let's say Fortnite, let's say some of these giant games, what happens is they get so big to a certain point that they start having to please more and more casual. So the way they do that, because Fortnite at the start of the game was 90% like skill based, there was almost no randomness. Now there's a lot higher probability that a casual player can have chances. Obviously, the best players in the world will still be the best players in the world. There's always the cream of the pot, whatever you want to call the expression. The beauty, I think, of RTS games is that for the most part, there's no way to really randomize it. There's no easy way to appease the casuals like there are in certain games, because my community that I came from was FIFA. FIFA in the earlier days had very little like chances of elements of luck and, uncertainty. Now it's like rolling dice sometimes. So pro players absolutely hate it because they think, well, why am I spending 8 hours a day trying to learn a game of luck? It's like trying to get good at rolling dice. I think for RTS, you don't have that problem.
Yeah, and how about CSGO, by the way? It's also probably, it's not about rolling a dice. I just know more about shooters than about Fortnite or FIFA, so...
Yeah, CSGO is probably a good example because reaction time, skill, like aiming, there's no auto aim. I think in Call of Duty they have auto aim, but I don't know if they have that in tournaments and stuff. I don't know enough about that scene, but there are ways to kind of, let's say, tip the scale for the casual. Whereas in RTS games, I don't know where that is, because if you both start with the same civilization, you're on equal playing fields.
Yeah. No, there is nothing that can help you really, especially at the point where AOC now is, it's insane. People on very low levels on the ladder already have, like, you have to try hard to even be on the lower list levels. You have to. There are so many things to learn. That's why they say RTS is also the barrier of entry is really high, as compared to other genres. In most games, you can. You probably still, the gap between you and pros is insane, but after playing for a couple months, you can be you know the game, and you can be you can play on an average level and compete. AOC takes so much more time and effort and any RTS, I suppose,
right?
And there is less randomness, obviously, or how did you call it?
Random
word you
uncertainty, randomness,
maybe randomness, uncertainty. Yeah, like luck won't help you in AOC.
This kind of stuff ruined the FIFA community, in my opinion. So that's the perspective I'm kind of coming from. It really ruined. They tried so hard to make a competitive game, and once they created a competitive scene, these guys that actually are good at the game got really good, and they just started crushing everyone. And then the worst thing about FIFA, which this is a therapy session for me, I guess, is that it's a pay-to-win game. So you can actually create a better team by putting more money into it. So on top of that, it's the worst. And when AOE4 was first announced, one of the first announcements that I was really happy about was they're saying like no microtransactions, no pay to win, no nonsense. And that to me, I was like, oh, thank God, because modern day games are like, I hate that. So yeah, another question I had for you: if you could make your own perfect AOE4, because we just saw like maybe 30 minutes before this podcast some announcements. What would you like to see? Yeah, you're building your own AOE4. What do you want? Would you just want like a nicer, cleaner version of AOE2 Definitive Edition?
I suppose definitely not the 3D graphics. I think that's a mistake to go for 3D graphics, and I don't think they can pull it off really on the level modern games are, like like where we are in terms of video gaming market. It's crazy. I don't think they can pull off anything like that. So it's better to go for 2D and make a better Age of Empires 2 game. Exactly, refine some graphics.
Build a new engine, maybe cleaner engine around it, so there's none of these glitches.
Exactly. Make it as smooth as you said StarCraft has always been. Some competitive aspects, maybe what people have been talking about for years as well. I wouldn't mind changing, creating a different Empire Wars. What's the word for it?
Mode
different
type?
mode. Yeah, exactly. So start with more builds, start in feudal age, faster game pace. So not entirely, but maybe create those modes which could make the game more spectacular. So the fighting starts earlier. Precisely the things that I think keep RTS games keeps them from becoming more popular. The games are less spectacular and there is less action. That's not the only reason, but one of the reasons, right? So I would do that probably, and just keep the rest because it's a perfect game. It's perfectly balanced game. Just make it look a little bit brighter, spectacular.
I think that's a good point. I think the early stuff is a really good point because maybe I wish I could see some of these guys' analytics. I wish I could see maybe like, I don't know, whoever uploads, like Doubt. Like I wish I could see his YouTube analytics because I'll be honest, I skipped the first 5 minutes of every one of those videos. Like, I'm sure there's some funny moments where he loses a villager to a boar, or he gets mad that he misplaced a mining camp. But to me, it's like, if I'm watching a 40-minute game or 30-minute game, I cannot be bothered to watch the 5-minute opening boar sequence every time.
I know. Well, there is beauty to it as well because it gives you time, to think about the matchup. And
sure, for you, right? The player, you mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But as a viewer, yes, I understand totally.
Are you thinking of maybe uploading your own games to YouTube? Have you thought about making, not really, that's not really content, it's like replays, right?
Mm-hmm. I did think about it, but I'm afraid it's a little bit too time consuming. I also talked to a few people and they told me if I try to, it's going to be a lot of time, a ton of time. The uploading itself, the thumbnail, cutting, editing, even with zero design still. So I don't think I can do it right now. But depending on how well I do with stream and where I will be in 3 months or 4 months, I might start doing it at some point if I keep growing, if I keep going as a streamer.
I mean, on the easiest side, if you just want to get started and see what happens, see how many people watch and stuff like that, the easiest thing you could do is just when you're sleeping or something, set your stream to upload on YouTube, let's say, and then if anyone wants to watch replays, but I guess they watch replays on Twitch.
Yeah, and then I would still have to cut videos. I can't just upload this 6 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, you can.
But
it wouldn't be the most. I get what you're saying. It wouldn't be the most marketable or watchable, but
it's not going to be watchable at all.
Right, that's true.
There's also something to YouTube algorithms people warned me about. It's so
baby,
hard to...
this is my specialty. Let's talk about YouTube algorithm. Well, yeah, I have another channel. This is my second podcast channel, so I'm well versed in the algorithm game. So, what did they tell you?
Well, they told me, I wouldn't be able to quote specifically, but with AOC, they told that YouTube videos are not doing great because of how algorithms do. So they basically told me if I just upload my replays, my games, and call them, I don't know, whatever, Arabia 1v1, no one's going to watch. And only Viper and someone else do well because I don't remember why. Because I know so little about it.
Viper, Doubt, T90 because he adds his own commentary, obviously.
Yeah, I think also T90 he's only uploading, even T90 is only uploading low elo legends and something else, like the specific type of content which seems to be doing well on YouTube, and the rest is not really doing well on YouTube. That's what I figured. I might be wrong. Viper is just completely different story.
Well,
right?
he is like one of the best players, so he has an established audience, sure. Yeah.
And he stands like, even whoever you take Doubt, take MPL, they don't stand even close to popularity.
So YouTube algorithm stuff, just I feel like I can maybe give some wisdom here. Big thing is watch time. Watch time is going to help your videos rank. Thumbnail doesn't have to be too crazy. I mean, you could just take, like, let's say your best game. Let's say you had a crazy, I don't know. Let me throw a situation. Goth's crazy imp game, post imp, you spam. I think Doubt had a video like that, and it's like he just wrote Doubt, Goths spam wins the game.
Yeah.
Uploads that. It's a 35-minute game. Gets a couple thousand views.
Yeah, catchy phrases.
Yeah, nothing crazy. The biggest thing, obviously, is growing on YouTube, right? You have an established audience. You're not going to be growing necessarily from... Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. You're not going to be growing necessarily from people that are looking for AoE content at first. You're going to be growing from people that are on your Twitch that are going to go into your channel and let's say, oh, I missed a stream. What was the best game of the day? Let's go see what she uploaded. I'll watch it.
Right.
So watch time, number one. An okay thumbnail, just something that like you look at and you're like, oh, I want to click that. Like, I don't know. I'm looking at T90. He put petard meta. I'm clicking that. I want to know. I don't know what the hell that means, but I want to click on that. So
I know. Well, I know who to talk to now if I ever decide to make my own channel.
I've been trying my hardest to help Sandy. I want Sandy to upload videos, and I've been like, dude, please. What kind of videos would he upload? Like, so this is the thing. So I had Sandy on the podcast, and he spit knowledge for an hour and a half straight. Like, I could listen to talk for 3 days. He worked on Doom 1, Doom 2, AOE, AOE 1, AOE 2, Halo Wars. He knows like the craziest stories, like out of anyone I know in the gaming industry, and I don't know many people. All they need, realistically, good title, clean thumbnail, and then Sandy talking for 15 minutes, because everyone loves listening to Sandy talk about the most random stuff. So those videos, and I think he just uploaded one, I wrote him a massive email. I'm like, Sandy, I don't want anything from you. I want to watch your videos. He mostly uploads, like, because he has a board game company, so he uploads a lot of cool, like, backstory behind board games. And
interesting.
If he likes that, that's perfectly fine. That's, he can literally do whatever. He's doing fine. But the content that his audience, I think, wants to watch is like, oh, how did we build this unit in AOT? So his goal, I don't know, at some point he told me like bombard cannons were supposed to counter longbows.
Yeah, I watched that in your
right?
Also in the videos, yeah.
So I'm like, go on, like tell me like how really? And then like let's talk about what it's actually like today. Like that's interesting to me. So I don't know. That's a story for another day, I guess. We're actually almost at the 50-minute mark, just a little bit talking about yourself maybe. What's your background? What are you studying? You're mushroom hunting. I don't know what that means. I didn't want to ask.
Well, it means literally what it means. I like mushroom hunting. That's one of my biggest hobbies aside from AOC, just going into the woods, hunting mushrooms. I have books that help me identify. I make pictures. I keep a lot of pictures. I'm not as much into cooking, but I'm into finding rare species, spending time in the forest. Having just this joy of exploring, of finding a spot where you can see the mushrooms.
You're the only person I've ever talked to. I've talked to a lot of people that has ever said mushroom hunting. Yes, half Canadian, half Serbian.
Okay. Oh wow, interesting. But you were born in Canada.
No, I was born in Serbia.
No? Okay, interesting. So yeah, Canada has lots of woods. I would expect people to be into mushroom hunting. Maybe not on a scale as in Eastern Europe, but still.
It's also really cold here. I don't know if you know that, but like 6 months of the year, this place is like Siberia. It's not livable. No one goes outside. So
Okay.
the free time that they do have, they're not going to a forest to look at mushrooms. They're going to like the beach or like trying to get a tan while you still can.
Okay, well, and those who live in the south of Canada, the climate should be more mild there? No,
I am in the
same?
most bottom part of I'm in the most bottom part of Canada. It's right across from Detroit, and here, from November to about now, let's say end of March, it's pretty unbearably cold. Like for 3 months, it's below zero, well below zero, and then after that, it's still like close to zero.
Well, I still think there are probably people around. You've never met them, but
Sure,
there are
of course.
people out there collecting
Of cour-
mushrooms in Canada.
How do you get into the hobby of mushroom hunting? How did that come about?
Somehow it escalated slowly. I used to hunt mushrooms with my mom and also some family members. That's a big thing in Eastern Europe. But no one who I knew, no one took it as, it was never a passion. It was just, okay, let's go into the woods. Maybe we find some mushrooms. And no one was really that good into it. But I grew up doing it and I enjoyed it a lot. I think there is some kind of this game element to it. It's like a quest. You because mushrooms are hiding. They're not like anything else. They are hard to find. It's like this it involves this joy of finding, exploring and uncovering, So and then again as an adult I started doing it more consciously, and I made it into a hobby.
I'm really ignorant here. Are truffles our type of like mushroom or fungi, or those are the expensive ones, right?
Yes, I think they're the most expensive mushrooms in the world. There is another one, matsutake, a Japanese one. I don't know which one is more expensive.
I do actually, believe it or not, have a mushroom mafia story. So my dad was telling me there's a place in Serbia that is known to grow these mushrooms, and they are, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, like $10,000 per kilogram or some outrageous amount of money. And it's in a public park, which technically is available to the public. However, if you start going there, I don't know, you start going there casually by yourself, going for walks, no problem. The moment you bring a dog of any kind, some dude comes out of nowhere, I don't know where, he finds you, he hears about you, and he's like, I'm gonna need you to leave the park, like, because the mafia owns this mushroom forest, and they know how valuable the product is. They don't even want to take a chance, even if you're just a random bystander who doesn't even know anything about mushrooms. You're just walking your dog in the park. They're like, you got to get
like
out.
a city park, like inside a city, or a suburban.
I don't know the exact location, if I'm being honest with you, but I believe 100% that this is a thing that happens in Serbia. Because
I can imagine. Wow, but it's crazy, really. I love stories like this. I really love stories like this.
like this is they figured it out. I would never in a million years like think, oh yeah, mushrooms. I'm sure they can make a stupid amount of money. But wherever there's money, there's some sort of shadiness going on.
Definitely.
So I'm glad I can enlighten you with a mushroom story. I did not expect that's how we would end this. Is there anything you want to promote, plug, you're working on? Shout out your Twitch.
Yeah, it would be great if you could link my channel, maybe.
Of course.
Anywhere, if people want to check out. I'm welcoming everyone, and not the greatest player, but I hope there is some content which you can find enjoyable or maybe educational. I attempt to analyze games sometimes, and yeah.
You gotta sell yourself, man. You gotta sell are you the one of the best female AoE players? Probably.
I am. I'm top 2 technically, but there is potential to be top 1, I think.
That's impressive. That I need you to learn how to market yourself and just sell your. That's awesome, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.